5 to 9. Should new technology in the conjuring up of virtual reality come into the debate on returning precious artefacts to their countries of origin? Stephen Fry has suggested they might. He said on a podcast that you could send the Elgin Marbles back to Greece and replace them at the British Museum with a digital experience, laser refinements, casting them exactly so you could have a Parthenon experience in London. Gillian Hovell is an archaeologist, an ancient historian and lecturer at the British Museum and York University, and Adam Lowe is founder of the Factum Foundation, a non-profit organisation dedicated to producing facsimiles. Good morning. Adam,
Good morning.
Adam, how possible is this?
It's totally possible. Factum's been working on this for the last 20 years. We've been developing the technology, and we can make exact physical replicas. So Stephen Fry was talking about virtual models, but really we're in an age of digital materiality, so you can see things online and offline, and this can be done.
So you'd actually construct something, so you'd walk in the place, for example, of where the Elgin Marbles are now. You'd construct something there.
Well, the Elgin Marbles, as we know, some are in Athens, some are in London, some are in the Vatican, some are in Rome, some are in Palermo, some are in Stockholm and elsewhere. So what we would love to do is, first of all, to digitize at the highest resolution possible, to bring everything back together, and to raise a serious debate about where these objects should be, who should have access to them, how they can be most effective. And really, the subject is all about sort of chaos and order. And what we want is a big debate about big issues, especially in a post-COVID or a COVID world, and a world where travel can't just be taken for granted.
Gillian, have you kept across how or what is possible now in the digital experience world, and how they might be able to come into the museum experience?
Yes, I'm a great fan of virtual displays and the solid reproductions because they can make them to a millimetre accuracy. However, as an archaeologist, I am very aware of the physicality of items. And there's something about seeing the actual thing that was made thousands of years ago, and you're in the presence of it, you're sharing its space. It's a bit like being on a Zoom meeting rather than being actually in the room with somebody. It just lacks that immediacy.
But the question is where you see the actual thing, isn't it? And whether these are the kinds of digital techniques that could allow a restitution and a return, and still allow somewhere like the British Museum to have a representation of the marbles that came from the Parthenon.
Well, it could enable a representation to be in many places. That's the beauty of it. However, actually, as I say, seeing the actual thing, I'm not arguing one way or another for the return of the Elgin Marbles. It's a big issue for everything. You could make replicas of many, many things. But there's something, as I say, about those of us who are old enough to remember seeing Tutankhamun's mask in 1972, and so it's just so different to seeing something that has got technology in the way, or a book or a picture or something else, and you're looking at the real thing. It is a different experience. There's no doubt about it.
Adam, what would you say to that? No substitute for the real thing.
Well, authentic experience is something that's being questioned a lot at the moment. So the Elgin Marbles used to be polychromed. Then they were cleaned to white. They were recarved in the British Museum, losing perhaps a millimetre or two of the surface. And we actually record at sub-millimetric levels and raise questions. So I think the most authentic thing that could be done would be to bring all of the Parthenon marbles back together in one place and allow them to be seen, or in multiple places, so they could be in Athens and in London. And I think Stephen Fry called for an imaginative response, and it's a deep imaginative response that we need to have now.
Well, thank you both for your thoughts on this morning, Adam Lowe and also Gillian Hovell.
No idea that they've been recarved. That's really interesting. Well, that's nearly all from us. Our editors today were Tracy Rubenstein and Tom Smithard.